Chapter 7, March. Ronnie Tiataki, grade 5. When Miss Rasmussen switched everybody's seat around, I was put at the same table as our genius in residence, Brenton Damagachi. So I figured this was perfect. If any of those D-Squad jerks was going to spill the beans, it would be him. He couldn't tell a lie to save his life. This would be my chance to get the truth out of him. I tried to get all buddy-buddy with him first, making like I was his friend. I offered him gum. I asked him if he wanted to hang out after school. I asked him if he wanted to take a hike in the canyon sometime. I asked him if he wanted to play ball or something. Nothing. I couldn't get him to crack. He always had an excuse. Whatever he was hiding, he wasn't saying. Finally, I just said to him that I knew what he was up to, and he'd better let me in on it, or I was going to tell everybody. And he says, "And what exactly am I up to?" I didn't have anything to say, so I just shut up. He had me. That got me mad. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. Well, I lost again. My dad attacks with his queen and rook at the same time, and it's like there are intersecting laser beams shooting all over the board. My pieces were all locked up and in each other's way. So I bring my chessboard into class, and we all try to think of every possible move I could make to get out of the situation. But it's hopeless. Brenton says I'm in zugzwang, which means that any move you make only makes your position worse. I had to resign. Afterward, my dad sends me an email telling me how proud he is of me. He says I put up a good fight. When I was little, I remember he used to let me win at games and sports. I would beat him all the time, but he said I was getting too old for that. And I have to learn how to handle losing because in the real world, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. It made me feel good. We started a new game. Miss Rasmussen, 5th grade teacher. One day I noticed that the homework turned in by Brenton, Kelsey, Judy, and Sam was remarkably similar, except for the handwriting. This was after I had switched their seats around. I also noticed that the 4 of them still left school together at the end of the day. I don't know why it took me so long to notice the similarities in their work. With so many papers to correct every night, I just didn't make the connection. And their work was so well done. I tend to notice the kids who make a lot of mistakes, not the kids who get everything right. I hope that after I've been teaching for a few years, I won't be so overwhelmed with work and will be able to pay more attention to things like this. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. Miss Rasmussen pulls me aside after school one day and says what an awesome job I'm doing on my homework. I say thanks and try to get out of there as fast as possible. But then she asks me if I ever copy off anybody. Now that I'm looking back on it all, I guess I should have been insulted. I mean, she was basically saying I'm too dumb to do such good work on my own. But I was cheating, so I wasn't too insulted. I say no, I do not copy off anybody, and that was the truth, technically. I never copied my homework off Brenton or Judy or anybody. I didn't have to. Belch did the homework for me. But I didn't tell Miss Rasmussen that. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. The 3 of them got all bent out of shape after Miss Rasmussen had that talk with Snick. They decided that me and Snick had to start getting some of the answers wrong so it wouldn't look like a machine was doing our homework for us. So now we had to cheat so it wouldn't look like we were cheating. What a hassle. I can make mistakes just fine on my own. Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. It became necessary to rewrite the Belch software to program in intentional mistakes at random intervals for Snick and Kelsey's homework. This was an interesting challenge and I enjoyed it immensely. It's easy to design a machine that will work perfectly all the time. It's harder to design one that will work perfectly just most of the time. It goes against the nature of machines. It reminded me of what they did with Post-it notes. They created an adhesive that was sticky, but not too sticky. If Post-it notes were stickier, they would not serve their purpose. You wouldn't be able to pull them off and stick them somewhere else. They're perfect because they don't work very well. In other words, they're perfect because they fail. That was what I had to accomplish with Belch. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. Received a call on Saturday afternoon, March 16. There was a break-in in the house of the Damagachi boy. Nobody was home at the time. There was a broken basement window, some minor damage. Nothing was stolen. Didn't look like a professional job. They ran when the alarm went off. It was a prank by a kid, I guess. Happens all the time. Ronnie Tiataki, grade 5. I didn't try to break into Brenton's house. I don't care how many times you ask me. I didn't do it, and you can't prove that I did. Judy Douglas, grade 5. We had the school paper called the Grand Canyon Times. It's not a real paper, just some stories and poems that kids write, and it's stapled together. It comes out a few times a year. Anyway, there's a gossip column in there. Usually the gossip is silly stuff like guess who likes so-and-so or which teacher wears a wig, stuff like that. But right in the middle of the page, there was an item about the homework machine. I freaked out. The Grand Canyon Times. And rumors are flying around the canyon that certain people in grade 5 have invented a mysterious machine that does their homework for them. Can you believe that? Where can we get one of those and how much does it cost? Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I freaked when I saw it. Whoever planted that thing in the paper was a real rat. It wasn't me. I figured it couldn't have been Brenton. I was so sure about Judy or Kelsey. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. After the thing was in the paper, we had to have another stupid meeting. Sam tried to get one of us to confess, but nobody did. We decided that we couldn't meet at recess anymore, and we couldn't be seen talking to each other at school. Judy was totally paranoid that we were going to get caught. Ronnie Tiataki, grade 5. Okay. I was the one who tried to break into Brenton's house. I had to find out what they were up to. What are you going to do? Throw me in jail? I didn't cheat on my homework, and I had nothing to do with the item in the paper. You'll have to pin that on somebody else. Look, I didn't know if they had a secret machine or not, but it sounded believable, and if they did have a machine, it wasn't fair to the rest of us. Why should I have to sit there for hours doing my homework by hand while somebody else can just push a button and have some machine to do it for him? I wasn't the only one who felt that way. I heard other kids talking about it. Brenton's mom. It was toward the end of March when a stranger knocked on our door one morning. Brenton was at school. This man asked if he could ask me a few questions. First, it was simple questions like how many years have I lived in the house and things like that. Then he started asking me what computer equipment we had and what we do with it. I didn't like the whole idea of this stranger asking me these questions, and I asked him to kindly leave. I was frightened. I didn't catch his name. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. We had to have another stupid meeting because some guy was snooping around Brenton's house. I wondered if it was that Milner guy who was stalking me. We decided that we had to move Belch. I said I didn't want it at my house. Judy said she didn't want it at her house. So we moved it to Snick's house. What a pain it was carrying all that stuff. The computer must have weighed a ton. We had to put it in a wheelbarrow. Thinking back on it now, I noticed one weird thing that I never mentioned to anyone. When we unplugged the computer to move it to Snick's house, that little red light didn't go out.